Did the NBA make a mistake honoring Karl Malone this weekend?
Well, first of all, good Monday to you. And Jason, I think that clip of Bomani Jones, his audience members, some of them had masks on. Yeah, that's exactly his audience. That made all the sense in the world. Now, to your question, I answered that with a question. What's the statute of limitations on all this? And I think your premise is absolutely correct, that if Karl Malone was one of those hashtagging and wearing T-shirts that said BLM, claiming and stating white supremacy at the top of his lungs and talking about the oppression of America. And let's face it, not really like a redneck with his lifestyle, the cowboy boots and driving a pickup truck. He would be given a pass. It'd be all swept under the rug. It's really interesting. There comes a time that, yes, when an athlete has an indiscretion, legal or otherwise, it's to be talked about. It's relevant at that point. But I just find it interesting how certain people get a pass, and other times when you bring it up, it's like, no, just concentrate on the game. What's that have to do with the game? Well, as far as I'm concerned, this man is a legend. Him and John Stockton will always be, in my view, the identity of that franchise. To not include him would have been a huge void. And in fact, that would have brought about more questions than that were raised this weekend. But I go back to a couple things, like with Ray Lewis. I think we're very biased about him for various reasons. I'm just a fan. You're actually a friend and colleague. He did what he did in Buckhead in the Super Bowl in 2000. For a period of time, that should be talked about. It's a part of his legacy. It's going to be in his Wikipedia. But years later down the line, let's say a decade later, every time he'd make a tackle during the end of his career, do we bring up, oh, great play by Ray Lewis, really shot the gap. But you know, in Buckhead, Atlanta, in 2000, he was convicted or accused of, I mean, how many times do we bring that back? Or when you bring on Ray Lewis to a show, do we say, no, Ray, also, you had a great career, but there was also Buckhead. But it's amazing, like with Floyd Mayweather, I always thought it was a little bit unfair. And this happened during his fight with Manny Pacquiao, that there were several journalists, I think Rachel Nichols was one of them, who kept bringing up his domestic violence. And look, we know what happened. And look, I'm not a Mayweather fan, but there's a part of me saying, yeah, you did it. But what does that have to do with the fight right now? It kind of seemed like very selective outrage, because it's interesting. It's like we would only care about the fly-in login list, certain people, of the Epstein login for flying into wherever he was doing his stuff, if those people were connected to a different political party. We have to be honest about this. And to me, Karl Malone did what he did. It is not to be excused. But people like Bomani Jones, I think, again, selective outrage.